So today we are joined by one of the most electric strikers in MMA history, black belt in BJJ, former UFC and WEC lightweight champion, and also the only man in combat sports history to have knocked out Stephen Thompson with a beautiful Superman punch. The man who looks to conquer the PFL now. We are joined by Anthony Showtime Pettis. How are you today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good too. I'm really looking forward to this. Actually, I kind of grew up on your fights. Like when you were a champion, I was around 14, 15 years old. So it's
Wow,
one of
man,
my
you're
first.
making me feel old.
you know, uh, like it was just like great watching you. The Showtime kick, like it's just burnt into my memory. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah. So my first question has to be like about the one thing that's been dominating the world for the last decade. You faced and beat Donald Cowboy Cerrone on the prelims for UFC 249, and you also competed on the last card of 2020 in a win over Alex Morono. So, how is it like competing in 2020, considering like you were there from the start of the pandemic to the end of the year?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, we went from in December I fought with the fans in the crowd and it was, people cheering and it was like normal. All of a sudden March comes around and the next car back to me and Cowboy, we're in an empty arena. That was the first time they did it in the empty arena, I think, too. Like now they're in the Apex, there's no like empty stands. So like we walk out there, it's just a empty arena and Octagon. So it's definitely weird times. Everything felt a little different. I think 2020 kind of helped everybody slow down and recognize what counts in life, what matters. And, I think that did the same thing for me. I pulled back from all the stuff I had going on and just focused on, my family, my training. And I think it just brought me back to like that lifestyle.
I have more questions, but quickly because you mentioned family. Congratulations! You just announced that you're about to be a father. So how do you think you'll be able to manage, say, your fighting life along with the new challenges that fatherhood will present?
Yeah. So this is my second child. First, that's when I was winning the belt when my daughter was a young girl at UFC. I think I already experienced it. I can enjoy it. Still enjoy the process and I understand how to balance the two now and really focus my time and be present in the moments that I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So yeah, we will get to the PFL bit, but just a quick question about the place where you spent the last decade of your fighting career, the UFC. You left the company on 250 after such a long time. What was it like leaving the UFC after such a long time?
Yeah, I just felt like it was time. In the beginning of that year in 2020, everybody was facing these weird times, and for me, it was like I was coming off a loss actually, and then coronavirus hit, and then I had my last two fights in the UFC, and I knew I was coming on free agency, with two fights left, and then my little brother just did it before myself, so I think once I saw my little bro do it, and go over to where he went to, and then I was like, maybe I should test free agency. I never did it before. I never tried it before. And my little bro kind of just fell into it. Like we just like, well, that's his last fight on his contract. Maybe we should just like see what's out there. And then for myself, it was more of like planned. I was like, I think I'm gonna see what's out there. I'm gonna go fight these last two fights out and see what kind of opportunities are out there. And the PFL opportunity was awesome, amazing opportunity for me, especially starting. It's coming up next month already. It's crazy how fast it's coming.
Yeah. Considering how fast time is going, again, we already touched on it. Like a decade in the UFC, that's more than like 90% of the fighters get. And you've had some fantastic moments under the promotion. So when you look back at it, like what would be one fight or one moment that would stand out? I mean, you have the Benson Henderson fight, sorry. You have your knockout of Wonder Boy, so many great moments, becoming a champion, not a poke fun, but the Wheaties box, which was a massive deal at the time. So what was your best moment, or what would you say is your best achievement in the UFC?
Yeah, I would say that era right there. When I beat with the spree I went on, after Clay Guida, I think I beat Jeremy Stevens. I think I beat, and then I went to Joe Lozon, Donald Cerrone, Ben Henderson, Gilbert Melendez, and that whole little spree right there, man. I was just on fire. You know, I was going through everybody. I was in Leaky's box, so it was just a great time in my career. But the highs, lows, lows too. I've had 3 in a row losses in the UFC over there, so I know how both sides feel. So I can say I experienced it all, honestly.
So you also spoke about how this was the first time you got to have that process of free agency. So while you were a free agent, what was it that stood out about the offer that the PFL made you versus say what other promotions would have?
I like the format. I feel like if I would have went to other promotions, I would have had to go, fight my way up to a title shot and like try to like figure out who I got to talk trash about to get into the next place in line. So I like to fight, and I fight a lot. I think in my career I fought 3 or 4 times a year every year so far, besides my injury years, and then so not only the opportunity to fight so many times and the stability of like knowing when I'm going to fight. I know my whole schedule right now. I know when I got to make weight. I know when I'm going to be, getting down to weight. And that's not like sporadic moments of like, oh man, I got to cut weight in 2 weeks and make weight in, 21 days or something crazy like I have done in the past. So I think that stood out to me. The way they approached it as well. They approached me as like a partnership, not like, you're working for us or you're our employee or like you're our fighter. Like they asked like what were my goals, what were my accomplishments, what did I want to accomplish before my career was over. So I felt like they approached it from a really good professional sense of like it was a partnership.
That's the thing. Like many people say that about joining the PFL. The new structure is significantly different, and as we know, the UFC doesn't indulge in that many tournaments. You are part of the lightweight tournament of PFL, and you will be facing Clay Collard in your first fight, another former UFC veteran. So, what do you think is the most exciting thing about the way he fights? We know he's like a tremendous boxer, but how do you think his experience overcome this challenge?
Yeah, I think the thing that makes him exciting is that he likes to fight. Standing up. He comes in there, he throws, he comes to kill or be killed, if you will. Like that's his style. So I think that's something very exciting for the fans, and I think my experience is going to show just because I've been in there with some of the biggest brawlers and the biggest names and some of the scariest strikers in the world, not only along the UFC. So I feel like I've seen it all, really. I think I have the experience to go out there and beat them professionally. The key is to avoid getting damage done because there's a fight coming up 2 months later and another 2 months later. So that's kind of like the thing me and Duke are playing around with now is like trying to be strategic on the training because I can't stay in season and go like training camp for 6 months because that's just won't work on my body. So we're kind of like playing with finding the right pad sparring and drilling combination to make it last for 6 months.
How do you think your recovery process after fights will be impacted by the schedule that the PFL has?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get right back to work. There's no like off time or no like recovery time. So I kind of like it. I feel like where I'm at in my career, I understand how to do training camps now. I know like how to avoid injuries. I know who to go with, not to let my ego take over and put me in bad spots anymore. So I feel like profession can make this season happen. It's just like now can my body hold up, and that's only time will tell.
Um, it ties into all the questions we've asked you now, but in the UFC, you really moved around in weight classes. You challenged for the title, won the lightweight division title, challenged for the title at the featherweight division, moved up to welterweight, fought some really elite talent in all three divisions. So right now, of course, you are part of the lightweight division in the PFL. Not the welterweight division in the PFL.
Definitely not the featherweight division. I'll never go back down to 145. That was such a hard weight cut. But welterweight's definitely it's an option. I want to see how the format goes first. I want to see how I feel maintaining a lightweight for the rest of this year, and then we'll go from there. My goal right now is to get that lightweight strap. And get another belt to put above my fireplace, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, how does it feel? Like you're about to, I mean, if everything turns out correctly, you might become a champion in the fourth promotion in your career. I mean, that's not something many fighters can say that they did, especially with how the fight landscape changed over the last decade or so, with when Pride went, Strikeforce went, WEC went, when UFC became this one major thing, and now we have like the resurgence. So how does it feel like four titles, four divisions, four promotions?
I think it's that's the legacy. You know, that's where legacy has to step in. That's where I got to get my drive and motivation from to get out there and like really leave my marks. I know how I can, how what my potential is at, and how good I really am. You know, I spar every day with some great guys, and I just got to go out there and flow and be myself this year. You know, and that's what I'm looking forward to doing. You know, look, whatever happened in the past, the Showtime kick, you know, WC, UFC titles. Like right now, I'm starting fresh and like refreshed, if you will. Like I had a nice little time off, and now I feel good to go out there and get after this PFL belt.
Um, Obviously, you are one of the part owners of Rufus Sport, a gym you joined when you were like a kid, and you grew
Yeah.
up within the system, worked with Duke Rufus almost your entire career, and now a part owner of the gym. And it has produced world champions. Of course, you're there. Woodley was there, Tyron Woodley, welterweight champion. Ben Askren, one championship, welterweight champion. Bellator, welterweight champion. So, in your opinion, who is the best as a gym in Wisconsin?
We're focusing on kids mixed martial arts. Actually, I just started my own management company out here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because we have so much talent that's our name. And now, hopefully, you know, when COVID loosens up and we start getting these restrictions gone, we're gonna have our first fight show. I can get all my fighters fight. So that's kind of our missing link right now, is having a place for our fighters to get fights at. We're having to travel and stuff. So once I put these fight shows on, we'll have the full system on how to, you know, rotate fighters through and get them to the UFC and PFL and Bellator and, you know, all these other big organizations, because we'll have a place for them to perform and for talent for them to see their talent.
Another question about one of your training partners. As we know, Ben Askren is going to venture into the boxing ring with Jake Paul. Um, Ben Askren's arguably one of the greatest grapplers that I personally have been able to see. When he gets you in that funk, it's almost impossible to get out of. But boxing was never really his strong suit. I mean, we saw glimpses of it against Damian Maia, but it isn't really like his bread and butter. So how do you think he does in a boxing match, especially against like Jake Paul, who, I mean, from what we've seen till now, should be a good opponent for Askren?
Yeah, honestly, I think you know, as far as like probably boxing skill wise, like as far as like time on boxing training, that might be even on that. You know, like he like, because I think Jake only does boxing, where Ben does grappling. It's still fighting, but it's definitely a different science. It's a different movement. It's a different rhythm, a different pace. So I think Ben's a good enough athlete to catch up and like get to where he needs to be at to survive. And he's been punched in the face before, so it's not like it's going to be a shock to him. Like, you know, Jake fought a basketball player last time. He's probably never got hit like that before, where he was like, whoa, like it was something new to him, foreign. So whereas Ben's felt that before, where he can work through it. But it is something that Ben's, you know, I would say Ben's not, you know, to fight this dude. So it's pretty cool to see, man. I'm going to watch it. Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
I mean, Ben Askren faced a flurry of punches from Robbie Lawler, went back and choked him out. So I think he can definitely take a punch. You
Yeah,
spoke about.
I don't think Ben's gonna break. You know, like whereas the last guy broke, I don't think Ben's gonna break. So I think this, you know, he's gonna push Jake to the limits and see if he can survive in deep water.
Now that you touched upon how Paul fought a basketball player, just a quick question. Thoughts on how the Milwaukee Bucks are doing this season, and do you think Giannis can lead them to a championship?
I hope he can. I mean, we're always like right there, you know. And Giannis is a, you know, freak of an athlete. You watch him, when you even watch him warm up, and like you're just like, man, dude's graceful. He's like such a big dude, but he has like that movement and that flow of like a little guy. So it's crazy to see. But just getting the whole team to follow lead or play as a team, you know, and like get this thing going. So yeah, sometimes it's frustrating to see because it's such a talented team, and we fall short all the time.
Hopefully this season might be the one for you guys. Going back to the end of your UFC career, we already went over the fact that you had some big wins, you had some tough losses. But I mean, how many people would go into an octagon and face Nate Diaz with an injured hand, go into the octagon with Tony Ferguson, try to fight through the pain? So, considering how like those fights went because of the injuries that you suffered, how do you think they would have gone otherwise? And could this conversation be very different if those fights went, say, a different sort of way?
Yeah, for sure, man. I was like very close to it. I don't think, I fought the best in the world. No one can say I had easy fights. Every fight I fought, even when I lost, I fought the next best guy. So I feel like no one can say that. Decision things that happen in these fights that, it's just like made me feel like, man, I had some bad luck or something going on because I was so close. I was just falling just a little bit short. But I mean, that's what it comes to in the fight game, man. It's a game of inches. Like there's so many good guys at that level that who could pull in, who could last more pain, who can suffer more. Me breaking my hand in the Ferguson fight, I had him. I thought I had him for sure. He was rocked, and then that happens and it kind of evens it out. And that's the fight game. That's why I love this game, man. So yeah, I think if things were turned and I would have won those fights, definitely I'd be in a different position. I'd probably be fighting for belts and stuff right now for the belt. But everything happens for a reason. I feel like I've done that. I've accomplished that title, that goal of mine. It definitely would be nice to be fighting for the belt again or being the best in the world. Because that's my goal, is to be the best. Wherever I'm at, I don't care what organization it is. I want to be the best, and that's honestly why I'm excited about the PFL, because I get to find out if I'm the best this year. Like, there's no like waiting process and like build up process. Like, I'll know at the end of the year who's the best in this division.
I mean, the reigning best in the division is Nathan Schulte. So, have you thought about how a possible matchup with him would go, and how well do you think he would do? You're a multi-promotional champ, and he is a certified killer as well. But there are levels to this. How do you think the same thing with Clay Collard? You have a lot of experience to go back on rough fights. You can take him to you can tap him out on the ground. You can knock him out. How do you think, like, if you make it to a fight with Nathan Schulte, how do you think that would go?
Yeah, I think after seeing, like, when I knew I was going to the PFL, I was watching their old stuff and seeing him fight. I like the challenge. I think he's well rounded, very good everywhere. He has good striking, good grappling. But it's nothing I haven't seen before. Striking and great grappling, and I've been on the ground with him and I've been striking with him. So I feel like I'm pretty confident in my skill set to go out there and fight against anybody. So I think that day will happen and that we'll have an answer this year.
Um, we've already spoken about how you have a daughter and you're about to be a father once again. Cowboy Cerrone had spoken about in, I think it was in 2018, about how his entire mindset on how he looks at fighting changed after he became a dad. And like, Cowboy went on quite a good run after that. Like, he had a bunch of good victories, Ally Quinta, then he fought Tony Ferguson. But do you think that there is something to it, the like how fatherhood can change someone, and you're on a good run right now? So do you think like that mentality shift is going to aid you more and more as you progress in your career now?
There's definitely motivation. I think, whenever you're doing something new in life, it's definitely motivation, and it's like things are changing, and my whole lifestyle is going to change pretty soon. Like, where there's no more traveling when I want to, or like doing things like that. Yeah, I'm have an infant with me, so yeah, it's definitely motivating. I think that it helps you just get more clear headed and understand where you want to be at in your future. It makes you focus on it. So yeah, I think it's definitely motivation.
In terms of the training partners and the golf, generally the dearth of training partners you've been able to fight with over your career, Tyron Woodley is possibly one of the best welterweights in that the UFC has seen, but he's on a bit of a skid right now. So, I mean, what do you think is going on, and what does he need to do to beat Vicente Luque in his next fight? Because another loss might be a little worrisome for someone of Woodley's caliber.
You know, all eyes are on you. And then your next fight isn't like a easy gimme fight or a step up. It's a killer. And then the next fight's a killer and a killer. Like, so once you're a champion, like you're guaranteed to be facing killers all the way through. So like I had to deal with that as well. You know, I went from Ben Henderson to Gilbert Melendez, then RDA, Edson Barboza, Eddie Alvarez. That was my three that they put me right against. And I welcomed, you know, but it's like, it's a game of inches when you come out there. You gotta be just as hungry. And these guys want that belt that you just had. So it's like the money changes when you lose your belt too. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it that makes you feel like I don't know, it's in a scary spot. So I know where Woodley's at, you know, and I think he has to clear his head. He has to eliminate all the other stress in his life and just focus in on what he's good at. And, you know, his training, what he can control, his training, how good a shape he's in, and that kind of stuff, where he can get back into you know, competing with the best in the world, because it's a game of inches when it comes to number 5 to number 1 through 5.
Um, Sergio Pettis, your brother, how did it feel? Like we have seen a lot of like brother duos in the UFC. Of course, Nate and Nick, probably the first that stand out to everyone else. How is it like? Like, what's the experience of having like one of your family members there with you, seeing the grind, understanding the grind of being a UFC fighter, like not looking at you from outside, looking at you from inside with you. So how was it like having a brother like Sergio, another acclaimed UFC fighter himself, to like have two elite fighters in the same family, be able to throw off techniques of each other? So how does that help?
Oh man, it's awesome. You know, I train with Serge every day. You know, that's one of my main training partners. And I think when he's in camp and I'm in camp and we're just grinding, it's like it's such a cool process. And we get to experience that together. You know, we're running together, we're dieting together, we're in the sauna together. Like, it's a cool with Serge, just because we were on the same cards before, where we both won and got bonuses, and then we both were on the same card, we both lost, and one got knocked out, and I lost my belt. I think, yeah, that's when we both won the same card. So it's like highs, lowest lows. And you know, I don't think he would change it, or I would change it for the world, man. Like, we experienced so much together. It's been amazing.
Your rivalry with Benson Henderson is one of those standout rivalries that established lightweight fighting. I mean, it's like the era that those fights were happening when are quite different from now. Like now, all the superstars are in the lightweight division. Back then, you and Bendo were crucial at the growth of that division, and of course, the way both of you transitioned into the UFC, had that crazy fight where you tapped him out. Genuine question: do you wish the Showtime kick knocked him out?
Oh man, hell yeah! I mean, that was like so close. Like, honestly, when I threw it and I landed it, I turned around. I was like, damn, it worked! Like, I didn't even know. Like, I was surprised that it worked. And I went to go like finish him off, and he was still like, he was dazed, but he like grabbed my leg and held on to that single leg, and I started pounding on like on the side of his head. But yeah, man, it was one of them kicks that was just like, it's amazing. You know, even when I watch it now, I'm like, bro, it's crazy. Like, the 5th round in a title fight to go pull that off, it's nuts.
I mean, again, that fight was probably one of the. I mean, I think it still holds up as one of the greatest lightweight fights that we've seen in mixed martial arts period. I think that's all the time we have. It
Yep.
was fantastic talking with you. I'm really excited to see your debut fight against Clay Collard in the PFL. Best of luck to you, and I hope we get to chat again soon.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Have a good one.